Then if you go back, you'll find that left-handers were considered to be connected to the devil. You know, it's like, I'm not going to tie your hand behind your back, but I'm going to beat you and burn you if I see you using your left hand. Like, whoa, think about it. And it's interesting that in the English dictionary there is the word sinistral, which means left-handed, but people just talk about left-handed. You don't hear people, oh, you're sinistral, because you think, right, pompous git. Okay, sinistral. Okay, has the same root, you know, sinistra in Italian from the Latin. Okay, but sinistra and sinister are very similar. Sinistro. Okay. I think that's the correct pronunciation. Okay, my Italian's terrible. Sinister. Sinister in English. Okay, I can't remember the Italian word, but it's very similar. Believe me. And they're connected. If you think about it, going back to my apples and pears video, the rights were created. This is right and that's wrong. So you have to indicate something is wrong, and something is wrong, something is bad, something is sinister, something is left-handed. You see where it's all connected together. So they've got this social imprinting, which means that left-handers would have been less desirable for breeding. Okay, within our mind control, self-domestication, based on the thoughts and the beliefs of a particular controlling group. Okay, and that controlling group is not being conspired, it just, you know, arrived there through well, you have to look into Socrates, Aristotle and Plato, if he ever existed. What was his real name? Apparently he does have a real name. I read it on Wikipedia once, should I believe that? Anyway, it's interesting that the fact that you have predominantly more right-handers than left-handers. Therefore, if there is a connection between the disposition of which hand you're using, okay, in consideration of your brain, then generally would indicate there are more right thinkers, which is probably a result of a particular form or style of pressure on the society based on the fact that people who think with their right brain are dangerous because they question, they look at big pictures. Okay, now I don't want to get into a war. Okay, let's identify the left-brainers and go to war against the right-brainers, or vice versa. That would be another thing from the Star Trek with the guys with the white and black faces. There's a good video concerning New World Order and Star Trek, and that hate sequence between the I'll have to put the link up here, the Klingons and Captain Kirk, okay, and his little band, okay, humanity in the future. Interesting series, Star Trek. Sometimes it did sometimes have some very deep thought in it, and this particular one where the hate, there's an entity of hate. Anyway, I'll put the link down, you can explain that, because that does fit to some extent into how the brain works and how we see things visually or whatever. That's an interesting thing. Anyway, that's what I find. In a conversation I was having, came up also the difference between male and female brains, and that's an interesting thought, because what actually the difference is, apart from the size, is the proportion of white and grey matter. Okay, now your grey matter is more where the actual calculations go on, you know, the thoughts. The white matter is more of that internet, you know. It's so the grey matter is a particular thought area which transmits to another, communicates. It's a network. The white matter generally is a form of network. Okay, women have it spread much more widely, and more of it. They have more white matter in proportion to grey matter in the whole total brain mass. The white matter means that these little lobes can all communicate together much more efficiently, whereas the male generally has, although you see, this is another thing, it's not always the case that all male like this, all females like this. There is a grey area. We've got to always start thinking grey. We've got to stop thinking binary. We've got to start thinking grey, okay, if you want to understand things. Binary is simple if you want to pass good or wrong, right or wrong, good or bad, whatever. But it's not true. The world is not binary. Okay, it's not binary. It's not digital either. It's analogical. Anyway, well, that could be argued. It depends how small details you want to go. But as long as you go down to those details and come back up and then look at the big picture, you'll see what I'm saying. Well, the female brain allows them to multitask. Females are generally better at multitasking. Males are better at parking cars. Okay. Why are males better at parking cars? Because the mass of white material here helps with spatial orientation. It's like, yeah, where am I in compared to that? Okay, where does that come from? Think about it. If we are going to be open-minded enough to suggest, so we can just go in there even just as a thought exercise rather than just say, no, it's not true because God. Okay, let's just examine it. I mean, why is your God against open-minded thought as long as it brings good? Okay, so we go back before creation stories were created to a time when our ancestors were first were first forming into their social behavioral groups. We've got an ancestor which was pretty much like a gorilla, okay, closer genetically to us than the modern gorilla, in the sense of that. I may be slightly wrong there. Look that up, okay. Well, don't look it up. Look into the whole argument, okay. Don't look for facts. Look at the see the big picture, then look for the facts. Don't look for the facts and miss the big picture. Okay, who just basically sat and ate grass. We've got the other, there's a basic 3 possible descendants, but the one most likely is this little cheeky one that would just rip things apart. You know, couldn't keep his hands to himself. We are the naughty monkey. Okay. In our form of how our society works, okay, because you have to think, if we look at mammals, okay, let's accept now. This is why I hate this thing. Oh, evolution doesn't exist. Okay, you say evolution doesn't exist, then we have no chance of understanding ourselves. Okay, where did we come from? Okay, even if, let's say, there is a God, okay, and his time periods and our time periods are different because he's eternity. Because I mean, you'll think about that. I mean, what is the day of God? Okay, and in fact, the Bible doesn't say days. If you read the originals, time periods. So, what is his time period? Okay, what is God's clocking on and clocking off days? A little bit more than 24 hours. Then you consider that he made the animals and then he made man. Okay, you see a progression, an evolution from experimentation to the perfection which was supposed to be him. So, I mean, your Bible doesn't even rule out evolution. Okay, so put that away. I'm sorry, I'm just rambling now. So let's say that things develop due to necessity and need. Okay, and those that are more capable of performing a particular task generally perform better in the rest of the group. Therefore, kudos, I won his babies.